when I reviewed the Disney Channel original movies, a lot of people were saying, "You forgot the Phantom of the Megaplex! How could you forget Phantom of the Megaplex?" I was trying to think if I even remembered the title, and for some reason I was thinking it was an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode. After finally sitting down and watching the movie, I can kinda see why. This film is definitely targeted at little kids. Everything is over the top, everything is overacted, everything is super goofy. There's virtually nothing in it for adults, but I'll admit, if I was a little kid, I think I would probably like this. The film centers around the Megaplex and the colorful characters that work there. As it turns out, there's gonna be a big movie premiere that everybody has to get ready for. The colorful cast of characters with extreme personalities all have to somehow work together to make it a success, but there's apparently a phantom. They think it's more of a legend whenever little things go wrong around the theater. But the night of the premiere, even more things are going wrong, and everyone's afraid it's gonna sabotage the big night. So it's up to our crew of silly troublemakers to try and figure out who the Phantom is and how to stop him. On the one hand, I kinda like this idea. There's something about movie theaters that always feel a little mysterious and even kinda magical. I can't explain it. People who work there often have a lot of interesting stories, and they usually have a love for film as well. And this movie, for as over the top as it is, seems to capture that. My favorite thing, believe it or not, is Mickey Rooney as an old guy who thinks he works there. At first he just seems like a crazy old kook who won't go away, but the more you listen to him, the more you realize how totally sucked in and intrigued he is by films. He constantly talks about how magical they are and how they take you to distant lands. It's so corny and so cheesy, but the way he says a lot of this dialogue, I do find myself kind of enjoying it. There's a legit passion to his performance, and maybe some of that does come from the fact that it is Mickey Rooney playing him. He was one of the biggest stars in the world, and he does have all this history. Nothing about his performance ever feels phoned in. It really seems like he just gets teleported somewhere incredible whenever he talks about film. To a point where he even stops people from seeing bad movies and won't let them in and directs them to better ones. It's so ridiculous, but it's so naive and innocent, you kinda gotta love it. That's probably the best way to describe this film too, naive and innocent. It's one of those movies where you pick up right away what kind of audience they're trying to hit. It's for little kids, and they act big for little kids, and they go really goofy for little kids, and they make up these weird lines for little kids, and again, for a little kids movie that has to entirely take place in a movie theater, which isn't exactly the most exciting place for a kid's movie, I do get why it's this over the top. So is there anything in it for grown-ups? No. Is there anything in it for older kids? No. Will it last the test of time? It already isn't. But I can't really get angry at it for doing exactly what it's doing, being a kid's film about a movie theater with a creepy little phantom. There's always a feeling that it's trying with the creativity. I mean, everything that the Phantom sabotages somehow ties into a movie, like in a tornado movie he turns the air up, in a movie about water he turns on the sprinklers and so forth. The climax even centers around him putting this giant Godzilla balloon inside a theater, and one of the kids has to grab a sword prop from a movie called Merlin on Mars and go after it, like a knight attacking a dragon. It's so childlike and ridiculous, it's kind of adorable. So do I recommend it? Only to little kids. I think they're the only ones that'll really get into it, and hey, it's kind of teaching them that movies are really cool and they can really spark a lot of magical things, and that's a good thing to teach kids. I say for everyone else it's a definite pass, but it's an understandable pass. It's childish, it's silly, but that's just what some kids' movies are supposed to be. When I saw the previews for The Emperor's New Groove, I just said, okay, I'm done. No more Disney, they have clearly given up. What, David Spade is a llama? Really? This is your movie? These are the people that brought us Snow White and Sleeping Beauty and The Lion King and... David Spade as a llama? No, just no. But after years and years of everybody telling me, you gotta see The Emperor's New Groove, you gotta see The Emperor's New Groove, I finally broke down and I put it on. And it's better than I thought, but I don't know if that makes it good. At least not for me. Well, okay, let's talk about it. David Spade plays an emperor that's totally full of himself and a complete jerk. So an evil sorceress and her bumbling sidekick try to put him out of his misery and take control of the crown. But they accidentally slip him a potion that turns him into a llama instead of killing him, and well, they try to kill him anyway. But the sidekick messes up and accidentally lets him get away. So the llama comes across a peasant played by John Goodman. As you'd imagine, they don't get along, they backstab one another, and yeah, it's pretty much a buddy-buddy comedy. Do I even need to say what's gonna happen in the end? They're gonna go on their road trip, they're gonna become friends, they're gonna figure out something about one another, and of course they're gonna defeat the bad guys. I guess what people really like about this movie is all the adult humor and fourth wall jokes. And I guess a good chunk of the time they do work. I mean, I can't think of any jokes where I was just smacking my head saying, "Oh god, really? They said that?" But I can also think of many jokes where I didn't laugh that hard. It's probably no secret I'm not a big fan of David Spade, and yeah, I'd be lying if I said I liked him a lot here, but much like Rosie O'Donnell and Tarzan, he's not that annoying. John Goodman is John Goodman. Yeah, just sort of his typical nice guy, you know, it works, but I've seen it before. The side characters, I guess, are just the people they come across on their journeys, and I don't remember too many of them, but again, I don't remember any of them being super annoying. Honestly, I just don't want to see Disney do a buddy-buddy road trip movie. I mean, it's Disney! I'm expecting great big grand things, or if they are going to do a comedy, a great big grand comedy. If you want to see a buddy-buddy road trip movie from them, that's fine, but when I hear Disney, I think grand animation, I think the best of the best. Not David Spade as a llama. So really, I think everything in this movie is just kind of okay, with the exception of one element: the villains. Eartha Kitt and Patrick Warburton are friggin' hilarious. They make this movie. Every scene with them makes me laugh and makes me laugh hard. It's such a peculiar team up, but you know what? It really works. The voices, the expressions, and especially the animation on them are just wonderful. In fact, that's something that I should bring up. The animation in this, as far as comedy goes, is really, really good. The timing's really fast and the line work is really good, so I will give the film credit for that. But like I said, the only thing that really stands out for me are the villains. In fact, I really wish the movie was just about the two of them. But as is, it's just your typical buddy-buddy road trip movie, like I said. And if you're looking for a Disney version of that, I guess you'll like this fine, but it doesn't do much for me. Like I said, not as bad as I thought, but just nothing spectacular for me.
Ha! Boom, baby!
Well, seeing how I thought the first Xenon movie was charming enough, I expected the sequel, or Zequel, haha, to at least be as good, if not better. As it starts off, it seems like it's gonna be good. It has a particularly funny opening where she sneaks into a control room and finds what she thinks is a game of Pong. Not only is it funny that she's blown away by a game like Pong, seeing how it's so simple and they just don't have games like that in the future, but it's made even funnier when you find out the paddles are actually the doors sucking stuff into space, even starting to get people involved in there. Okay, I thought we're in some good hands. But sadly, that's where the best stuff of the movie stops. You see, another authority figure is coming to the space station and, again, is threatening to close it down. To make things worse, his daughter is the girl that she didn't get along with in the first movie. And Xenon's been assigned to show her around and do whatever she wants. Even cut her food. Oh god, this is dumb. But Xenon can't think too much about that, as she's put in a part of a ship to mostly just keep her out of trouble. It's a section that tries to track any signals for alien life. Wouldn't you know it, as soon as Xenon takes over, she hears a signal for alien life. But for some reason, nobody believes her. She said she heard this sound like a zoom, zoom, and what, they don't have a recording of it? They can't go back? They can't hear it again? This is the technologically advanced future? Naturally, this happens a couple times, and every single time she's the only one in the room and she has to tell everybody it happened again with nobody believing her. So she once again travels back to Earth, again spending the majority of the film down there, reuniting with her aunt, her best friend, and of course the girl she doesn't like who sneaks off with her for some reason. And they try to find the rock star from the end of the first film because they think that the message is actually his song and the aliens want to talk to him. Ugh, do you find this ridiculous yet? Don't get me wrong, the first Xenon was a silly film, but it had a little bit of a charm and creativity to it. This is just on repeat, except there's little charming about it. Most of the characters aren't even that likable. I hate how nobody believes her. I hate this girl that's supposed to be annoying, but instead of coming off as funny annoying, she's just annoying. I hate the fact that she breaks up with the boyfriend at the beginning of the film and is treated like no big deal. No, actually it is a big deal, it kind of affects her, but not enough to pay him to have him come back in the movie. The musician gets annoying, the aunt gets annoying, the parents get annoying, the general's annoying. Everything just has a slow, unimaginative feel to it. Even the aliens at the end, when you finally see them, just kind of look like rejects from the abyss. At times, it's even hard to follow. There's a lot of talk about what the aliens want and how they want them, and let me tell you, I watch a lot of Star Trek, and even I couldn't follow this. How the hell are kids supposed to comprehend it? Even the layout of the scenes don't even make sense. Like the aliens finally come and everybody sees them and they're like, oh my god, life on a different planet. And then Xenon's still being punished and she's trying to tell them what's going on and they're like, where's your proof? What do you mean, where's your proof? The aliens were just there. How can you still not believe her? But then they do it again. Yeah, the aliens just come by and flash things and yeah, didn't we just see this? Why was there that little scene of her getting bawled out? Oh, what? Is it so the annoying girl can finally stand up for her? You could have had that in an earlier scene. And truth be told, she's so unlikable, I'm still not quite on her side. When she sneaks off with Xenon, she leaves a letter to her father saying that she's been kidnapped. Friggin' kidnapped! What the hell is wrong with these people? Okay, so is this a terrible film? I guess not, it's just your run-of-the-mill bad. The characters are all morons, a lot of the moments seem recycled. The effects are a little better, I'll give it that. But aside from that, there's really not much to it. It's funny because this is the kind of film I assume the first Xenon would be like, you know, kinda lame, has aliens and some dumb technology that makes no sense and lame lines. But the first one kinda surprised me and I thought it was an okay kids film. Because of that, I was actually expecting more out of this one. And instead I got what I suppose I should have been expecting. Like I said, I'm not gonna act like it's the worst thing ever, but I definitely wouldn't take this trip to the stars anytime soon. Recess School's Out is a strange contradiction of a film. First of all, the title makes no sense. If school is out, how can there be recess? Movie ruined. Second, I kinda figured the Saturday morning TV show it was based on was centered around, well, recess. Kids getting together, goofing around, getting into all sorts of silly antics, upsetting adults, so on and so forth. And if that's what the show is like, then that's definitely not reflected that much in the movie. The movie opens with a military base being broken into and all these guys break in and they shock the guards and this guy with a cane comes in and he's using this satellite to control the moon and what the hell kind of movie did I get into? On the one hand, I say to myself, this kind of insanity might actually be kind of fun, but it never quite goes far enough for it to be really, really funny. There's one or two funny moments and one or two funny lines, but a lot of it sadly just comes across as a generic kid's adventure. So after that James Bond intro, we get a poorly rendered CGI opening of the school, thank god there's only one more of these in the movie, where all our main characters, as well as all the other kids in the school, are being let out for summer vacation. Our main lead, TJ, is once again getting under the skin of his principal, Mr. Prickly, played by Dabney Coleman. TJ is excited because he gets to hang out all summer with his friends, but it looks like all his friends are going to different various camps. Space camp, performing arts camp, wrestling camp, and so forth. When he thinks he has to spend the summer all by himself, he realizes that something strange is going on at the school. A weird green light is coming from the windows, and when he peeks inside, it looks like a laser beam is being created. He goes to the cops, who of course don't believe him, so he has no choice but to get all his friends out of their various camps to help him out. It looks like the organization making the beam is led by a villain played by James Woods. For he has a plan to get revenge on Principal Prickly, as well as destroy Recess forever so that test scores can go up, and people will hail him as the greatest mind ever, maybe even make him president. Okay, so on the surface, that kinda sounds like a funny plot, like it's so absurd and so something a kid would come up with that it could be entertaining. And like I said before, parts are. Every once in a while there's a funny line or a funny idea and the villain's details in how he's gonna get rid of Recess is so funny, I won't even spoil it for you. It's just beautifully ridiculous. But sadly the script needed a lot more humor. A lot of the jokes are just kind of very basic jokes, and half the time they're not even making them. Like, they're running down the hallway and they come across ninjas, and that's just kind of it. The ninjas don't do anything funny, they don't say anything funny, they're not a special kind of ninja, they're just run-of-the-mill ninjas. And a lot of the action scenes, jokes, and characters are kind of along the same lines. They're just kind of generic. I really want to like these kids. It seems like they have very defined personalities, but they just don't do anything that interesting in this film. I want to see funny things at wrestling camp. I want to see funny things at space camp. I want to see this goofy villain do really crazy goofy things on top of the weird plan he has. But I don't know if they ran out of time to write it or throw in more jokes, but a lot of it comes off as just kind of boring. There is kind of a nice lesson connecting TJ and the principal, showing that not all adults are against kids, they were once kids too. In fact, seeing how many adults come together to fight for recess, it's actually kind of a cool thing. I think scenes like this, and even a really nice speech that the principal makes about the importance of recess, will probably resonate the most with kids and adults. But aside from that, they just kind of do the kid spy adventure thing that every other kid spy adventure does. Nothing really that new is added or that many funny elements thrown in. And even when there is a legit emotional moment, it's very brief and doesn't carry the film. Seeing how I never watched the show, I have no idea if this is an accurate portrayal of what it was like, or if fans of the show would like this. My guess is kids would find it okay, and parents would get through it alright. But I don't know how good the rewatchability is aside from just having something on in the background. I guess it's silly to be harsh on it because there's nothing really awful in it, there's no bad lessons, there's no jokes that make you want to go nuts or yell at the screen. But at the same time, this seems like kind of a fun idea, just showing what recess is like and this group of friends and how they work off each other. Or if you're gonna go for this big crazy plot about this evil mastermind, go all out! You have James Woods as your villain, the funniest part of Hercules. He's a funny voice actor, make him funny! As is, it's just kind of a run-of-the-mill adventure. If you have a nostalgic connection and you don't need that much extra to get into these characters and their stories, fair enough. But this is a playtime where I'm not exactly dreading the bell.